Good morning. They say third time's a charm. It's been a really interesting Sunday morning. I wanted to do this out here on Bainbridge Island because we're socked in with this fog, right? It's kind of foggy, it's kind of cloudy, it's kind of hard to see anything, it's kind of dreary, and I thought this is a really good topic for today, and the weather is cooperating. So today I want to talk about the child, the mother, and the father trilogy. Okay, so I'm gonna take you through a path, and I'm gonna give you some tools at the end. So hang in there and see and follow this with me, and let's play with this. Okay, so it's the sacred part of each of us because we've all been a child, right? We've all been gestated in birth. We've all come from a biological mother. Right? So we have been birthed and held by a mother, right? And we have a biological father who planted a seed, who put some sperm in there. And so we have this, every single part of us is a child. We all have a mother, we all have a father. So I spent the weekend, well, this has been my work. Let's just be really clear. This trilogy of the role that we each have imprinting from the mother and the father into the child, and that the child and that this trilogy is powerful, right? So I spent the weekend listening to Sacha Stone's Line in the Sand. It's about 4 hours, about halfway through, still working on it. And it's got this reoccurring leadership from all over the world. And what they're talking about is ways to address the chaos, the changes that we're experiencing, and to sort of give some hope and some understanding as to what's going on. So they spoke about our systems and our histories. They've talked about connecting, Zach Bush talked about connecting our bodies with the earth and realizing that we're all interconnected, and that the way we take care of the earth, we take care of our bodies. The way we take care of our bodies, we take care of our earth. About building independent communities throughout the world that are based on the ways that we want to live, and what is possible to create through awareness, right? So all of this is fabulous. But what I did in here so far was this role of the family structure, and the role that the family structure plays in passing down the genetics, the histories, the patterns, the beliefs, the conditionings to the child, right? Think about it. That isn't talked about, that we as parents are the primary imprinter of all of our culture, of everything. So whether we have an intact family of origin, or whether we're adopted, or whether we live in blended families, we as children are not separate from our parent influence, from our family first, right? So one of the things that I've done in a previous video is that we observe and we scan. As infants, we're like, whoa, what's this life? And we scan and observe everything, and we collect data and we record it, the norms, the patterns, the language, the actions, the reactions, and then we play it back, because this is what we were taught. We were taught to play back what we know about ourselves as our norms, as the culture, what we were imprinted upon, what we were exposed to. Does that make sense? It's getting kind of interesting, right? So within the realms of my coaching and in that parent-child relationship, what I've seen is some of these passed down pieces that are seen and unseen, that we process, that we pass on to our children. Some of these are awesome. They're hopes, they're opportunities, they're wisdoms, they're our view of the world, they're our beliefs, right? But what we also pass down is our worries and our anxieties and our patterns of dealing and coping. We pass down our hurts and our wounds. We pass down our constructive, the way we construct the world behaviors, our expectations, and our controls. So this makes the role of the parent really, really important and quite powerful. And as we know, with great power comes great responsibility. So within each parent, there is the lineage of the DNA, the genetics. There's also the history of the family. There's the experiences that the parent, grandparent, familial system has lived. There's the karmas, and there's also the purposes, right? So sometimes these experiences that come through the lineage of the mother and through the lineage of the father are different. They're quite unique. There might be stories, there might be work on both sides, and a child gets both of those. So today I want to focus on what we were taught as children, Because those that were born in the 20s and the 30s, who are the great-grandparents, most of them are passing at this point, or they're sort of at the end of their lives. What they've gone through, the Depression, the World War II, what they've experienced is their own experience, separate from who we are and what we did. We have those that were born in the 40s and the 50s. These are the grandparents. These are the older grandparents. It depends on, where you are in the stage of life. These are just generalities, right? If you're born in the 60s to the 90s, you're in the parenting stage. If you were born from 2000 on forward, you're in that baby, child, adolescent, young adult phase where you're just starting to figure out, what am I going to do with this life? Who am I, right? So each generation has their own specific challenges. So I've done videos. On millennials, on Gen Xers, on baby boomers. You can go back and look at those because we don't want to go through all of those experiences right now. But what we want to talk about is that each of those generations have seeded children that they brought into the world that were part of all of this. The indigos, the crystals, the rainbows, the diamonds. And that each of these generations came in, and impressed upon these children their values and their expectations based on the culture that they were raised in. It makes sense. Work. It's about money, it's about family, it's about faith, it's about politics. All of these things are influenced by those generations and what they experienced. So the fact that it's foggy out there is not lost on me at all, because, it takes some it's like, wow, how do I begin to process this? That I've been conditioned, I've been imprinted upon by my parents' experience. So, this is some really big stuff to delve into, that these beliefs and these values that are held are cultural. And they're entrained into us. And I'm going to say that in the last 100 to 150 years, it's really been dramatic. Whether it's about education, whether it's about the work ethic, whether it's about financials, politics. And we can even go further and say that it is about the last 2,000 to 3,000 years, or we can go up even further and say in the last 20,000 years, there's something very specific going on about how we are imprinting upon our children. So there are some that come to mind, like, the thing that keeps coming up to me constantly is you need an education. You need 12 years of school. You need at least 4+ years of college in order to be a productive human being. You need to have a faith or a religion, and you need to practice what our family practices, right? You need to have a productive job so you can pay for housing, insurance, the lifestyle you want. You want to be a responsible adult. And this is a culture that values productivity. Now, none of that is under suspicion, and all of it is, right? Because when we're a productivity-driven culture and money and education is all that matters, it doesn't leave room for other things. So what we want to do is we want to look at, where did these beliefs and values come from, really? Go deep inside and explore. Where did you learn this? From who? When? What are the options if you don't want to do those, if you don't believe in those and they don't work for you? What have you done to work around the norm? Some of us have done a beautiful job of moving in and around under the surface and getting into, changing those norms for ourselves. And what has it been like to be out there addressing some of these cultural norms? See, if our deepest imprinting comes from the mother, the father, the child, or any of these parent combinations, I want to make sure that I'm not talking about just a heterosexual relationship, right? That any form of parenting that comes through these family systems it has in the initial confines and of expectations, of imprinting, of conditioning that adheres us to a system. It's what we were taught. It's what we believe in. So what I'm noticing in my coaching is that the 25-year-olds and under, and so many of them are unwilling, unable, resistant to being imprinted. They're resistant to being conditioned into these roles. They can't put on those old roles, that old yoke, and go. And we're seeing a lot of that right now in our in our resistance to education. Now, I have, I dropped it. Hold on. Got a couple of tarot cards that I thought I would show you. I thought it was really interesting. This card is the 5 of discs in the tarot, in the Osho tarot. You know, it's really about mental constructs that have kept a child locked into a courtyard, and they're looking outside like, I want to go out there and play. I want to go see what that is. So this is what happens when mental constructs restrict us from physical change. Thought that one was interesting. This is what it looks like when you free the child to go explore who they are, what they want to be, and what's possible. This is also another messenger on the emotional level of what happens when we choose not to allow those mental constructs to dictate us anymore. So these are really beautiful, beautiful cards about what is possible. So part of what I always do is I give you tips. So this trilogy, the mother, the father, the child, is the core of who we are, how we begin to create change, and open doors for something new. We as parents get to create the changes. This is the best part, right? So how do we do this? Number 1, we recognize that the patterns and the beliefs we hold in place. We allow ourselves to fully see them. I think my education helped me, so I want to pass an education on to my child. That's my stuff, right? So you start to go like, oh, this is where I have my very strong constructs, right? Second, we do our own work to put down, to release, to let go of some of these mental constructs. You know, because what we know is that form follows thought, right? So when we think about something, we put it into form. And it takes a really shrewd initiative to change the way we think and the way we behave. So number 3, trust whatever work you do, anything, that it impacts the generations above and below. This is the 7 generations of impact. What you do to change your construct, your conditioning, your imprinting, is releasing those above you and those below you. Number 4, and I do this work all the time with my parents in the parent coaching, which is when you do your work, you free your kids and you free your parents. Number 4, don't get caught up in pushing against fighting the old systems. Learn that on the line in the sand. Is that we're not here to fight another battle. We've been fighting battles for hundreds of years. What we are here to do is create something different and say, I'm not interested in that. I'm just going to go over here and do my own thing, right? So whether it's what I notice is that it could be even about schooling. Many of you have had the opportunities during the lockdown to see your child's relationship with school, with education, with learning, with curiosity, with self-advocacy. What did you see? What did you notice? What do you feel inside? What does your gut tell you about your kids? Is this something that they want to go back into, a traditional school setting? Or is it something that they learned that they are thriving without it? Follow your gut, number 5. Follow your gut, your intelligences, your intuition. They're talking to you right now, and they're going to tell you what's working and what's not working on these patterns, on these conditionings, on these old systems that are starting to sort of waffle. And number 6, Richard, I think it's Boise, said that, and he was on the line in the sand, is that courage is love in action. And so it takes really big courage to go forward and to know where change lies, to take these small steps in just a small step in a little direction, to sort of go, I'm going to go this way with my kid. I'm going to go this way with myself. So I can allow individualism, I can allow movement, and I can allow change. Because, you know, when we look at the mother-father combined and we look at what's possible in all of this, what we have is a beautiful trilogy of being able to imprint and open new possibilities, change, like you've got this. I can hardly wait to see what you're going to do with the world. So this is the kind of stuff I do. You can always find me on JaniceDrydenCoaching.com, and have a wonderful Sunday and a great week. See you next Sunday. Bye-bye.